favorite moment in this entire... Maybe I should complicate this before I start speaking here.
Welcome to Comics League Movie Night. I'm your host, Jared, recovering from a cold, so there's that. So we're talking about the Dark Knight Returns animated movie and book. I'm doing both because I figured this would be more fun to be able to talk about both the book and the movie. Thanks to Cole Turner for recommending it. So let me bring in the panel. So first off, we got this guy.
All the hopes and dreams of Krypton live in you now.
What's up, Teladia?
What's up? What a great stream we just had. 14 minutes of talking this week in DC, guys, on my channel.
Mhm.
But we're here to talk about the Dark Knight Returns.
And then, I don't know about you, but it's a little cold. Let's turn up the heat.
Not impressed.
What's up, JJheat? So,
come
and
on, y'all never seen
Nick
that
will
movie?
hopefully show up here soon. So, let's start this conversation by discussing, like, and yes, it is I would say of the DC of the adaptations, it's a 10 out of 10 of the adaptations.
I think I agree with Cole. It's a 10 out of 10 film, for sure.
But Under the Red Hood is a golden standard.
Yeah. So
Of
let's get
course.
started with establishing the historical context of this discussion. Like, why was The Dark Knight Returns so important? So previous to this book coming out, Batman was very campy because you had like the Adam West show and everything. And by the way, oh yes, Bat Channel. I want you to remember, Clark, in all the years to come, in your most private moments, I want you to remember my hand at your throat. I want you to remember the one man who beat you. By the way, fun fact.
Say it right. If you're going to say, I want you to remember, Clark, in all the years to come, in your most private moments, I want you to remember my hand at your throat. I want you to remember the one man who beat you.
And you know what's kind of funny? They used this exact line as promotional material for BVS when they announced they were doing BVS.
Yeah.
Zack Snyder had like Harry Lennox come on. They were reading it. They're like, we're not exactly adapting this, but here's something like what we're doing. And then the Superman logo shows up. So everyone's like, okay, it's Man of Steel 2. All of a sudden, the Bat logo shows up, and the place went nuts. What's up, Daryl Taylor? And the Spider-Man says the most accurate comic book movie made. Yeah, kind of. When you think about it, this movie, like, nails adapting the like. Well, it was kind of funny. I watched the movie before reading the book for the first time, and when I was reading the book, I'm like, "What? This is legitimately the book." I mean, they nailed it. PK Shade says part 1 came out when I was serving my mandatory time in the Finnish Defense Forces, and part 2 came out when I got in the reserves. Oh yeah, that's right. It was divided to part 2. We're going to talk about both because there's no reason for us to split the conversation up. And plus, by the way, to hype you guys up, next week we're talking about Mask of the Phantasm because I have not watched that movie yet. So we're gonna do it.
Get him out. Get him out of his own show. Kick him out of his own show.
You can't do that. I have control of that. I have control of that. And there are only 2 noticeable inaccuracies. So we'll talk about that. And then Daryl Taylor says, what about Superman versus the Elite? The story where he shows about just how badass Superman can be if he gets pushed far. True. Let's not forget.
I will say this. They don't directly say it in the movie, but the historical context of Dark Knight Rises is pretty much
Returns.
no Tim Drake and Bruce's reproach after Jason's death and death in the family.
Because remember, also, Grace, actually, there was no Tim Drake Robin because after Jason Todd got killed, Batman retired and he was like, I'm done. Because remember, first you had Dick Grayson who got fired. He got Bat fired. And then Jason Todd happened, and you find this out in Dark Knight Returns. I believe it's called The Last Crusade. So, what's up, Lawrence? And what's up, Bat Channel? So again, this was the movie that proved that Batman could be a serious comic book character. Instead of like this jokey, campy guy that danced and had bat shark repellent and couldn't dispose of a bomb.
The Silver Age was bombarded with censorship by the Comics Code Authority. If you thought the censorship of Mortal Kombat in the early 90s was bad, you should have seen the books come out of the Silver Age. They were not playing.
Yeah, exactly. So Frank Miller showed up and goes, I can make a serious Batman movie. And a book. And oh boy, did he do it. And by the way, this is the inspiration for major inspiration for most of the plot of Batman versus Superman.
If not the inspiration.
If not well, actually, for the entire Snyderverse, because when you think about it, every version of these characters is like they exist in this world. So let's jump into it.
Wonder, apparently. I had to.
Super Wonder. Yes, thank you. I appreciate that. So, and for that, I'm going to move you to the top. So, sorry, Teladia, you're on the bottom now. So, the movie starts off, movie/book. I'm just going to say the movie and assume the book because guess what? It's pretty much there. It's solid, so solid. And by the way, whoever can name the 2 inaccuracies, drop in the comments. So, movie starts off. Batman is in like a drag race or something like that. He's pushing the car to its limit. And then I love how like whoever's remote driving the car tries to slow it down, and Batman just pulls out the GPS and just continues to push it. Then he crashes, and then you see Batman has like a really nice mustache, and I got flashbacks to Justice League. So I'm like, at least it's not CGI. So then we get like, so obviously at this point, Jim Gordon knows who Batman is. Like, there's no reason he shouldn't. And they're having a nice conversation reflecting about the good old days. And they reference Jason Todd and all that. Okay, the death of the roller coaster. Okay, we'll talk about that when we get there. They have the roller coaster. The discussion because Jim Gordon is just retiring. Oh, plus, didn't Superman and Nightwing have to bring him back from the brink of insanity? Well, Nightwing never shows up in Dark Knight because Dick Grayson goes from Robin to crazed Joker in the sequel to this that shall not be named.
Master Race.
No. Dark Knight Strikes Again.
Oh, yeah, I forgot it was a trilogy.
Yeah. So that's the first like indicator that we have a Batman that's not Batman. And also we have like I'm still getting over a cold, that's why I'm coughing. But so bear with me. Joker, what's actually cool about Joker is that he is completely sane because apparently they argue in this that Joker needs Batman in order to beat Joker. So it's actually really cool how they do it. So what do you guys think so far of Dark Knight Returns?
It was solid.
Yeah, I agree. I concur. I think that the Dark Knight Returns was a solid film stroke book.
Okay.
Because I'm including the book in this, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
but it's pretty much exactly the book. So technically you've read the book.
Yeah.
That's mad.
Yeah. And what's up, Tavia? And yes, the movie was... I love that one psychologist that's trying to blame everyone else for all the criminally insane people. And then he keeps getting proven wrong. And he's like, no, I'm not wrong. And then he like he takes Joker on TV. And then Joker starts manifesting his Jokerness after Batman Returns. And it's kind of cool. They mirror the I shall become a bat moment when the bat like... when the dream, when like actually no way, you start hearing Batman's voice haunting Bruce Wayne. He goes, "I'm always in there, Bruce." And then the bat comes through, and then they don't even have him say, "I'm coming back." All they do is cut to the next scene or like panel, and it's some criminals doing criminal stuff, and all of a sudden he gets dragged through like a window, and all of a sudden it's like all these little points that is like Batman destroying criminals, and it's so cool how they establish like Batman's back, and without him saying I'm returning as Batman. Yes, it was. The way the Joker killed people in that story was crazy, like he was on a talk show. Yeah.
Fun fact: that scene was actually recaptured in the Joaquin Phoenix Joker movie.
It's pretty much that.
The only difference is he used a broken coffee mug and slit the guy's throat. That's the only difference.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he didn't shoot him and say you get what you effing deserve, but that's besides the point.
But I also gonna bring this up is that the reason why the Frank Miller's Dark Knight Returns is done so well is because it brings Batman back to its core root, which is dark and gritty. And you gotta remember that back in the 80s, Batman if it wasn't for Frank Miller, we wouldn't have had Batman 1989. And
Oh
we
yeah,
wouldn't have,
because remember, here's an example of the comics we got pre this. Batman hosted a contest where you could spend the day in the Batcave. I'm like, no. Cole Turner says things came up, so I can't stay. Sadly, I'll watch on the rewind. Had to pop in though. Favorite Batman films? Yeah, it is really good. I wish all of BVS was adapting this instead of the other stuff. Favorite elements from it? Yeah. What they should have done instead of, let me put it this way, the way BVS turned out is just because Warner Brothers wanted to rush it. Had they not rushed it, I think we would have gotten a Batfleck movie that was basically the first half of Batman of this movie, and then the VS portion would have, in other words, BVS would have been two separate movies, one with Batman and then one with the conflict with Superman, I think, because I think,
or at most, we would have gotten the death at the very least, we would have gotten the death in the family adaptation with the death of Jason Todd.
But here's the fun fact for you guys: The Dark Knight and Batman Year One is the same continuity.
Oh yeah, pretty much.
It's essentially it's a de facto origin.
So is Batman Spawn.
Yeah.
Because Frank Miller has said pretty much everything Batman I've done is in one continuity, including actually Superman Year One.
Yeah, so it's...
Which makes sense when you take into mind how much of a psychopath Superman is in that book, and Batman is.
Yeah, and here's the cool thing about Frank Miller's Dark Knight Returns is the mutants, especially when it comes down to Batman versus the mutants.
Yeah, and we'll talk about that. Oh yeah, but we'll talk about. Oh yeah, by the way, we don't talk about this book.
No, we don't.
The late 80s and 90s were the start of anti-heroes because they're super popular back then. Yeah, because Marvel was doing a lot of that stuff and DC was like floundering.
Well, DC late 80s. We're talking about 89.
Right at
90s.
1990.
By
the time 92, between 89 to 92, you had Batman was popular as crazy.
No, Extreme Justice was just a.
And no, Tevi, it's not in its own continuity. Yeah. It's in the Millerverse.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it is.
Oh God, and I thought Liefeld was bad. I dread even the mention of that book's existence. And then when you compare it to All-Star Superman too, I need a minute. I need.
Yeah, when you compare it to All-Star Superman, we will talk about that animated movie too because that was great. But excuse me,
we should save that for another stream. All-Star Superman.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that'll be another stream. And so then we get like Batman just being Batman and beating the crap out of people, and then we get like that scene in Dark Knight Rises when the cop or
you just crippled that man.
No, when the cops are. When the cops are chasing those criminals, and then the cop goes, "You're in for a show tonight, son." And then we get the whole, "Believe me, I'll kill her." I believe you. And then Batman straight up in the book, he straight up shoots the person and kills them. So Batman uses guns and kills in this book. So when people say I hate how Batfleck kills, it's because Zack Snyder is adapting a very specific version of Batman.
That was the one inconsistency thing.
Yeah,
that's the first one. Can you name the second one?
The baby. There was no baby.
Oh, why'd you have to spoil it, man?
Yeah, Teladia, spoil sport. But
well, that was an inconsistency.
Mm-hmm. It was. Anyway. What do you mean? Oh no, he did. He did kill him in Dark Knight Returns. It's because they don't show you the round impacting. What they show you is that he fires the gun and then the person falls and there's what appears to be a blood splatter.
But here's a fun fact, Lawrence. Batman did use a gun in the early 30s.
And by the way, Batman uses guns all the time. It's called anything on the Batmobile. or the
no,
Batwing that has
I
guns
think
on it,
I think he means when Batman is using handheld guns.
which he has used handheld guns before. Anyway, even in the modern continuity.
The only
But I
reason
mean,
the no kill rule exists is literally because of the Comics Code Authority. It needs to be modernized to a no murdering rule.
Yeah.
Because what Pika made a good video. Pika Shades made a good video about this. So subscribe to his channel. But make it long story short, you're gonna whether you are like say killing parademons as a mercy because we know what happens with parademons or collateral damage.
Aliens
It's
don't
gonna
count.
happen. It's gonna happen. It still counts. It's gonna happen. And collateral damage is a thing in of itself. Now, a more no murdering rule would make more sense.
Batman kills in the Dark Knight Returns, but he keeps convincing himself and others that he doesn't. True.
true. I mean, there is something I want to talk about that does concern about what he did, which was wrong.
Which is why Superman gets involved later in the story.
Oh
So-
no, I'm not talking about the Superman bit. I think shall we talk about it?
Yep, let's talk about it. Spoilers ahead. You have 10 seconds to back out. 10,
9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
Batman snaps Joker's neck.
No, he doesn't. Oh, in the movie he does, I think. In the movie and book he does, but it doesn't kill him. And then the Joker snaps his own neck, which was weird because he doesn't like hit his head against something. He just twists it. It's so creepy. Is Superman working for the government? Yeah, it does, actually, because when you look at Superman, particularly back then, he was full-on America back then.
And that's the main reason a lot of people think Superman's a Boy Scout.
Yeah, exactly.
Which to an extent he is, but
to an extent he is, but I mean, let me put it this way: it didn't bother me when like Superman's like acting as like a lackey of the U.S. government, to quote Comic Pop. By the way, I love Comic Pop. Really, what it is, and when you think about it, even in Man of Steel, he goes, "I grew up in Kansas, General. I'm about as American as you can get." Superman always considers him an American, and he's doing what the president wants. Ultimately, because A, he's also concerned with how Bruce is acting, and B, he respects authority. And yes, we didn't know at the time, but the president is Luthor using Reagan as a hologram, and Luthor is working with Brainiac, and they're holding Superman's daughter pretty much hostage with Wonder Woman. That's right, Superman impregnates Wonder Woman. Suck it, Wonder Bat!
God.
And with the exception of one, every Super Wonder in Elseworld ends in disaster. With the exception of Kingdom Come, because they get together at the very end.
Actually, no. There was another story called Act of God where they all lose their powers, and then Superman and Wonder Woman end up together, and it's actually successful.
Oh, I'll have to read that one again. But I just say, Teladia, say your piece.
Yeah, it's implied in the original book, and then it's revealed in Strikes Again.
Well, Wonder Bat was a thing.
Mm-hmm. You had groups like Checkmate, Task Force X, Suicide Squad, and hardcore anti-heroes and villains like Deathstroke, Major Force, Vigilante. Yeah, and all. You had anti-heroes back then, but
and let it be known, mate, I'm the Black Constantine.
Yeah.
No.
But the thing is that it wasn't like Superman or Batman. It wasn't like one of the main DC characters that were like these gritty, hardcore, like Rob Liefeld's pouch sprouting characters.
I was gonna say this, right? JJheat, never do a British accent again.
No. Like for this, Teladia, if we ever do a dramatic reading of anything with Constantine, he's playing Constantine.
He's a bad British accent, though. I'm a British, so I can do it.
Do your Constantine.
Bloody hell, mate.
Oh, bloody hell, mate. It was one time, Z.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you bloody wankers, the whole lot of you.
Okay. I'll tell you what. We'll have an audition off for the role of Constantine on another stream. So
Yes.
Okay, that's fair. That's
watch. It'll be hilarious that the people like the fake British accent more than the actual British dude. That would be so good. So anyway,
But I still respect you, Teladia. I'll respect
yeah,
you.
it's all good. It's all good. So I hated it ruined everything with Dick Grayson robbing that universe. Well, how would it ruin it?
To be fair, if we are referencing the book that shall not be named, it makes sense.
It makes sense in that book. So how does it not make? How does it ruin it?
I mean, in context of the majority of Dick Grace's characterization, you have a point. But we're talking about Frank Miller's fall from grace in of itself. It's
Which arguably, let me put it this way: Dick Grayson has never had a good depiction in this universe.
never.
Let's not forget his origin. And by the way, Lawrence supports the fake British accent.
Lawrence, come on, my guy.
There you
but
go.
I was gonna bring this up, right? Because I think this is something we should talk, right? I think as well is what really intrigues me is that we never get to see a glimpse of Robin, Dick Grayson's Robin. We never get like a scene with him in the movie.
We get
They definitely should have had Nightwing. That was a wasted opportunity.
Yeah.
Mm.
Wasted opportunity there.
Oh, Barry, Jared. All right. So, JJheat, Daryl, why don't you do a Manchester Black voice?
All right, Manchester Black. All right, give me a minute. You're out of your you're out of your damn mind.
Okay.
If you think I'm gonna stay here and watch you kill my mates? You're living in a dreamland. Sorry, my only reference for Manchester Black is Superman the Elite. That one was a little flat.
All right. So we'll do that later. But yeah, I mean they reference to okay. They reference it and Tevia, that's a different Jonathan Kent. That's not that Jonathan Kent. I'm only bringing this up because he mentioned the daughter Superman and Wonder Woman.
Stings, doesn't it? Stings. That's karma for you, Jared. That's karma.
Yeah. Speaking of the fourth sequel, Golden Child, yeah, it brings in. Actually, no. Technically, it's not the Golden Child that brings in John Kent. It's the Master Race that brings in John Kent.
Can I say something, please?
One more thing, and then one of his introductory scenes is Superman shows up on Themyscira covered in blood, and he makes out with Wonder Woman while holding John Kent. So yes, what's up, Teladia?
Tevia, everything isn't about Jonathan Kent. Come on, you gotta let that go.
You know what? I'm just gonna say it. He's gonna get shelved after Tom Taylor's little pity 6-issue mini. John's gonna get shelved. I'm sorry, Tevia. I know you're a big super fan. It needs to be said. He's gonna get shelved because let's be honest. Even if you are chasing clout, factoring headlines, relevance, all that, Tom Taylor's Son of Kal-El was not good. It ruined any good, especially with editorial mandate at the time. It ruined any good faith fans had for that character. All right, I'm trying to respect our audience and make sure we have loyalty here. But come on, man, it needs to be said. Look, I've had my favorite characters get done dirty by editorial mandate. Cassandra Cain's Batgirl, God, but just thinking about it.
He's coming back in, I believe it's like he is getting his own book. He's going to be a Superboy traveling through space.
Wait, the Round Robin winner? Superboy won that? I thought T. Franklin's book won Round Robin last year.
No, he won that. It was a Round Robin, remember? And yeah, and what we're saying is that they're not going to DH him. They're just going to shelve the character and not talk about him for a while, or not give him his own book. He'll be like a side character who occasionally shows up. That's it.
Depending on what the Super Sons movie does and whether it gets a sequel, he might get a little proxy here and there. But in terms of consistent comic book appearance and synergy, you're looking at least 2 years being shelved, at least.
3 years that matters.
And the only way they'll de-age him is for flashback scenes. That's it. I don't think they're going to completely de-age him.
Depends on how Tom Taylor's 6-issue mini goes. He didn't get a full 15 like Tom King did, but that's a separate conversation.
So I was gonna bring this up with you guys, right?
Yeah.
Because this is to do with the book. Well, to do with the animated movie. what do you guys think about the whole Catwoman kidnapping with
do.
Catwoman's kidnapping from the Joker and her kind of like weird look in The Dark Knight Returns?
What you mean? How she runs a brothel and she is like held prisoner dressed as Wonder Woman?
Yeah,
And let herself go, but that's a separate conversation. But yeah, I kind of felt like, for lack of a better, you definitely feel the dread and fear in that situation. I just don't think Selena would purposely let herself go. I could definitely see her, running Alleytown or the Narrows, something like that, to help some people here and there.
It's a different situation with the Snyder Cut. We're not talking about a thing that's already set up.
Tevia, I'm trying to be here for you, man. I really am.
Yeah, Tevia, we're getting to that point now.
It's not the same. It's a completely different situation because there's more of an audience for the Snyder Cut than there is for John Kent. There's more of an audience for the DC movies than there is for the comic books. It's a completely different situation. It's a false analogy, ultimately. I will say, speaking of John Kent, he had a fantastic moment in that thing where he catches where he's fighting Doomsday. He's basically going to sacrifice himself, and then he and Clark beat up Doomsday. Love that.
Congratulations, Joshua Williamson can write a legacy character without his ego getting in the way. Bravo!
No, that moment made me realize I don't hate John Kent. I just hate John Kent written by Tom Taylor.
And as I can dream.
Yeah, and you can dream. That's fine. It's just very likely not going to happen. But anyway, going back to the movie.
But like as I was saying, the whole brothel thing, I find that really disturbing.
And to answer your question, Daryl, Dark Crisis was god awful.
Well, and here's the thing. They could probably do a sequel, but I'm not talking about Super Son right now. But I feel bad. The movie removing the noir monologue from the comics. Well, that's kind of boring to put in an animated movie.
Yeah, unless you did a pure voiceover, it would be purely an aesthetic choice.
Mm-hmm. There's no reason to have the monologue from the comics in the movie.
There's no reason for it.
Yeah, I get why you find that disturbing, and I kind of agree with you, but that's the point of it. It's because this is not an ideal DC universe at all. More like not at all. No,
more like a perversion than anything. And I'm not gonna. No, I don't care what you say. This was around the time where Frank Miller completely fell off. None of that was on purpose. Frank Miller was just losing his touch. And I can't. Okay, who fell off harder, Frank Miller or Brian Michael Bendis?
Bendis, because at least let me put it this way.
That's surprising.
What does it say when Frank Miller's Superman is more consistent than Bendis' Superman?
I'll give you that.
As a Superman fan, I will never give Bendis. Let me put it this way. In terms of Bendis, and this is something I 100% agree with Tevia on. Bendis has done the. Let me put it this way. Frank Miller has done more of value to DC than Brian Michael Bendis did in the entire year he was at DC.
Year and a half.
But let me put it this way. Miller brought more value to DC than Bendis ever has. That's what I'm going to tell you. This book alone has brought more value to DC than whatever Bendis.
Well, to be fair, come on, man, that's not a fair comparison. The Dark Knight series literally saved the Batman character and re-cemented him in an iconography. That's not a fair comparison.
Well, no, actually it is, because guess what? Bendis could have made Superman more relevant and more and stuff. He could have done the same thing, but he didn't. Mm-hmm. I'm saying he couldn't. Frank Miller dropped off quality after Sin City. However, a lot of his DC work is Elseworld stuff, so it doesn't bother me that much. Yes, and that's the difference. Also, Bendis stuff, these are not the. It's okay if he doesn't necessarily adhere to how you see the characters because it's Elseworld stuff. Bendis was straight up, no, this is the way Superman, John Kent, and the Justice League are. I'm like, no. Which I think is funny. This is one thing I wanted to mention. we're going to talk about it on CLD, but they're bringing back the Clark Kent secret identity to the point where I think, guess what? The de-Bendisification of DC has begun, boys. I was right.
And Tevia, before you get your hopes up, that doesn't mean John's going to get de-aged. No,
No,
they're in too
it
deep.
just means that he's getting his own secret identity too. The article said that him and Clark are getting their secret identities. Yes. And by the way, Tevia, I will highlight this John Kent thing because guess what? He did. He's right here. But unfortunately, Bendis was a cancer on DC. I'm going to say it right there.
Yep.
And ooh, you lucky dog. Jeez. Also, I heard Miller has gotten better with time. Not 80s level, but still getting better.
He has improved. He's restructured his craft.
Oh, and by the way, let's talk about his Daredevil, because oh my gosh, that Daredevil run is fantastic. I have his origin of Daredevil that he did with John Romita Jr. And yes, I will give you that. That is fantastic.
But going back to the book, to the movie, right? What did you guys think about the tank?
The Bat Tank, that's the Batmobile. I liked it. I thought it was pretty cool. I love when he rolls up on the junkyard and goes, "Mutants, surrender or be destroyed." And I'm like, yes. It reminded me a lot of the Batmobile from BVS. And actually, no. Fun fact. In Zack Snyder's Justice League, in the establishing shots where they have the montage of the Justice League going about their daily lives, at the end of the movie, Batman is standing on top of those tanks with a couple of mutants tied up in front of the tank. So I'm like, hell yes.
But you know what's also cool is the fact that the '89 Batmobile was also in the Dark Knight Returns film.
It was?
Yes.
Oh yeah, it was in the Batcave.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. I love when the end.
Oh boy, we got bots.
Oh, hang on. And hey McFarlane, where's the Dark Knight Returns Batmobile? Yes, I would want that. Who wouldn't want that? And hot take. Miller's the true creator. Ooh,
that's a bold statement.
Well, you can he's kind of right in that the modern, the way people think of Daredevil now is mostly because of Frank Miller's Daredevil. It's just not letting me remove his spot, so I'm just gonna do that. But so yeah, that's how I'm gonna go with that. But as we get let's get into so part one. Basically ends with Batman getting his ass kicked, Carrie Kelly repairing him, her being hired as Robin, and then him actually, I love defeating the mutant leader. By the way, I love how the mayor goes into the mutant leader's cell alone and expects that to turn out well. And then it turns out, oh no, he just got killed. Oh, I also love the way the media is portraying this because they go, Jim Gordon has been shot and killed. Oh, wait, we have a retraction. Jim Gordon has shot and killed a member of the mutants. So I'm like, well, that's interesting there.
Yep.
I love that. So part two is when they start to bring in Superman. And I like how the government's starting to get concerned with Batman because you have the public. By the way, Lana Lang also severely let herself go in this universe, it seems.
Yep, Lana. She's hardly ever referred to. She was Superwoman for a while in the New 52, wasn't she?
Yeah, she was, along with Lois Lane. By the way, one thing that really bugs me, Batman fakes his death, but Alfred kills himself. Well, what the?
Why I think Alfred died of natural causes.
Yeah, I think he died of natural causes. And what the line about? Yeah, I love that, where Batman's fighting the mutant leader, and he goes, "This is this."
Let me do it, man.
Please go ahead.
This isn't a mud hole. This is an operating table, and I'm the surgeon.
Yeah,
I love
that's that scene particularly, I found really, really found that really cool. especially when
want.
Peter Weller, who
Mhm.
who did the voice, perfectly did that scene.
I want Affleck to say that in the movie. So
I don't
in the
think he's
movie
got
so
the.
much
I don't think he's got the
In his
room.
no,
in the
he'll do
voice
it
changer.
in his own solo film. I can see him doing it.
Didn't he take the pills to off himself like Bruce? No, he didn't.
No, where are you getting this?
Yeah, I don't
Um,
think so. But
Maybe in Arkham. No.
so I love where Superman just like where like the Superman and Clark meet, and then Batman's like, "Don't interrupt me, I'm working." And then he just as he's fighting the criminal with the paraphernalia on her, like,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, I
you
know
know what
what
I'm
you mean.
Keep
saying.
this
Yeah, I
PG.
know it.
Keep this PG. But fun fact, Carrie Kelly did have a canon did get a canon debut during the, I don't know if it was Robin Rises, but it was definitely Robin Omega, where when Damian died, and Carrie Kelly's written as this high schooler at a costume party. And I was just like, are they going to canonize Carrie Kelly here? And it was such a bait and switch. I feel like I even have that issue back at home. And I felt like I got trolled. I spent my whole allowance on that when I was a kid.
And yeah, the therapist was a freaking moron. Like, oh my gosh, he's blaming everyone else for Batman being like
He's looking for clout. That's really all it was.
yeah.
The guy was a hack.
And also during the new 52 Batman and Robin comics, we see Carrie Kelly. So yeah,
she did get a canon debut. It was in the New 52. Thanks,
yeah, she
Debbie.
exists. Thank you, Scott Snyder. I'm just gonna say that right there.
You are such a Snyder fanboy. It's kind of getting weird. Whether
Hey,
if it,
when you're talking about the dude I'm talking about the dude that wrote the Court of Owls.
Yeah,
still, man.
He's talking about the Court of Owls. No,
Okay.
he's not talking about.
And wait, here's the thing. Also, who else wrote Batman besides James Tynion in the new 52? There's not a lot of options.
A lot of them carried directly over into Rebirth or pre-Flashpoint. So yeah, you got a point.
Thank you. So anyway, before I was so rudely interrupted, but yeah, I mean, I get why people don't like Superman being like the weapon of the U.S. government. And here's the thing. The one part I don't like is Superman like fighting a war on behalf of the U.S. government. He wouldn't do that. That's one thing he would not do. I agree with people on that.
Yes, unless it's an existential threat to the planet, Clark's not going to directly engage in political affairs. Unlike a certain angsty teenager who wants to prove a point on a certain book.
He wants to protest climate change. So,
and has actively done nothing heroic in his book outside of one issue.
Mm-hmm. But anyway,
But I was going to say, right?
Yeah, go ahead, Talia.
I feel though when it comes down to the Dark Knight Returns, especially when it comes down to the movie, I think what they really did well was the animation style.
Oh yes.
Yep.
It seemed a lot like Bruce Timm, kind of. And yes, well, no. It's kind of like I would say a marriage of Bruce Timm and the DeCamu a little bit.
No, that's even worse.
But my
it was written by
Peter
Tomasi
and Patrick Gleason.
Okay. By the way,
go on.
Tomasi and Jurgens and all those guys, supremely overrated as Superman writers. I will say that is my hot take.
Wait. Hold on. Teladia, I hate to cut you off. No, man. No. Those are on Super Sons. They were pretty solid. And Patrick Gleason. No. I'm with Tevi on this.
Patrick Gleason is a fantastic artist. I will give you that.
He's not as good of a writer as he is an artist. I'll give you that. But
Claudia?
Oh, I'm sorry, Claudia. Go ahead.
I was going to say that if you had an option, would you ever like to see a Dark Knight Returns, a Frank Miller Superman Year One film, animated film?
Yes.
Hell yes. Superman's a Navy SEAL? Heck yeah.
It does get a little inconsistent when he goes to Atlantis, and that.
My problem with that book is that the people fall in love with him way too fast. Like Wonder Woman going, go, become the man you need to be there.
Jared critiquing Super Wonder.
I can critique when it's done horribly, and that was bad. She shows up, ostensibly, this is the first time they're meeting, and already, I'm like, no.
So was Injustice, but you weren't complaining about that. Just saying.
No.
Just saying.
Here's the difference. In Injustice, they've known each other for years and years and years before the whole Joker thing happens. In this one, they literally just met 5 minutes ago.
Yes, it's called a hookup.
Well, in Frank Miller's defense, he hooks up with pretty much everyone in that book. That's pretty much that book. I'll give you that one. But I do love one thing I will say about Superman Year One. I love when Batman goes to Lex Luthor. Oh, you're gonna love Jail Luthor, and I'm like, well, at least he's consistent in writing Batman.
And Robert, no, Kevin Conroy. It's an actual story. They wouldn't be able to use Kevin Conroy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Plus the fact it's supposed to be an older, like really older Batman, and Conroy's playing a Batman probably like in his late 30s, early 40s at most. And to be clear, Conroy's still awesome. So now I also love when Green Arrow shows up because the implication is that Superman tore Green Arrow's arm off. And by the way, yes, this was the most hilarious part of the comic because I also can't stand that ship. So she just kills him.
I mean,
by the way, pre-New 52, Steve Trevor was never a love interest. Except for in the Golden Age, but in post-crisis, he was a father figure.
But you know, here's a fun fact, right?
Yeah.
In the Injustice world, Wonder Woman is Superman's rebound girl.
No, here's the thing.
Yep,
he gives gives them proper time to recover.
Gave him maybe 6 months in year one at that.
They don't really get together until like year 4, though. So it's like 2 years.
Year 3, actually.
Okay, 1 year. 1 or 2 years. It gives them plenty of time to recover.
No, but she's still his.
Here's the
but
thing.
she's still his rebound girl.
And by the way, thank you, Lawrence. He's my boy right here. I bet you can't guess what my favorite post-Rebirth Justice League run is.
Wonderbat.
No, Scott Snyder's Justice League. That would be a
Oh.
great movie title. Scott Snyder's Justice League. That's how they adapt the Justice League runs now. And then the Bendis Justice League run is announced as an April Fool's joke. So, but I will say this was actually cool. I will take this where in Justice, Wonder Woman actually corrupted Superman. I like that. That's actually a really cool dynamic.
Yeah, and it plunges the entire world into a 10-year civil war. But yeah, it was a good.
I'm saying for the purpose of the story, I like what they did with that. So back to this. I also really liked. I like Carrie Kelly as Robin in this. She was great. Where she just basically follows Batman until he hires her. Oh, this is funny. A fun fact, I like to call people in Twitter who want to cancel Batman Dr. Walpers after the therapist from Dark Knight Returns. Nice.
Good
My
show,
man.
man. Good show.
Mhm.
You got to roll the clip. Roll the clip for him.
Yeah, I'll roll you the clip up for that. Where is it? Hang on. Yeah, okay. And then of course we had Tevye talk against Scott Snyder to John Kent, but I will say, and we're probably going to go into the stream for probably like another half hour to an hour or so, because there's not much that we can talk about with this, because we're actually sailing past this. So
was anyone else able to get in touch with Nick?
no, he didn't. Like I directly DM'd him about coming on, so all right. But anyway,
I guess he's too busy. So
and yes, that well,
A lot. Some of that was
Bendis in front of
editorial.
anything really that applies to DC is a train wreck.
But I definitely say Bendis' Justice League was not the worst out of the bunch.
I only have 3 copies of the first issue because that was when they had the Zack Snyder Justice League variant covers. Those are the only reason I got 3 copies of that book.
You literally bought Bendis' Justice League just for a Scott Snyder cut.
It's right there.
Okay, I'll admit. Okay, I can see
It's
how
right
that's worth.
below my X-Men #1 signed by Chris Claremont. So,
Okay.
and by Robert Online, my all-time favorite scene in Dark Knight Returns when everyone riots. He puts people in this place, and the cops look on the roof. What are we gonna do? Nothing. He's too big. Yeah, that's so good. I love that.
Unlike a certain Elseworld story with another hack called Batman Fortress, but we're not going to talk about that.
Oh yeah, that BS. That sucks. Where Batman is like goes away, lets people loot. I'm like, no. I also like how Dark Knight Returns it did a reference to Wonder Woman going back, and where the other members went to. One thing that bothered me is that why didn't Superman talk about the Flash? It's a good question. He doesn't mention the Flash.
Yeah.
I don't think the Flash is ever alluded to. The only
In the book he is. In the
He
book
shows up in part 2, I think. And by part 2, I mean Strikes Again.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find it because I don't think because I think in the scene where he talks to Bruce that he doesn't show up. He isn't alluded to by Clark. Because what he says is okay, so Diana went back to her island, Hal went into space, and then they also kind of allude that so again, Superman tore Oliver's arm off, which that's another thing where I'm like, Superman would not do that.
But he would beat him to death.
Mm-hmm. I haven't read that, but yeah, he would. Well, that was an evil version of Superman. In Justice, Superman would tear his head off. And I will get World War III in my collection. Everyone's been telling me, including
JJheat. Need to get World War III, man. That.
I will look for that because I started collecting Black Adam trades, so I need that. And yeah, that was a horrible Flash costume in that book that shall not be named. So let's complete the movie. So we get to the Superman Batman fight. And first off, it's alluded to by a conversation where Batman goes, in that case, Clark made the better man win. So, and Tevye, you had to name the book. So in terms of okay, the fight. Now, here's the interesting thing. When BVS came out, and everyone was complaining about how short the Superman versus Batman fight is, I always respond with, the fight in the book is not that long either.
It's really not. Maybe 10 pages, if that.
Not even 10 pages, 4 or 5 pages.
At max, yeah.
Yeah, and even in the movie, it's not that long. I get what they were expecting because the movie made it out like the entire plot was going to be them actually fighting. But when they complain about it not adhering to the comics, I'm like, no. And yes, he does it because he wants to protect his family. And yeah, he may have used his heat vision to take Oliver's armor, but the point is, he tore off Batman Green Arrow's arm. I wondered if Harley got jealous of the Joker hooking up with Bruno. Probably.
Wait, what?
If Harley exists in this universe, because as far as I know, Harley does not show up in the Frank Miller universe.
Not at all. Not at all.
That's interesting. So the fight happens, and then I did like in this movie how instead of how they actually gave Batman sounds whenever he moved in the suit, so it's they made you know it was mechanical. It sounded kind of like the Iron Man suit whenever he moved, so I was like, oh, okay, I like that. That's a very nice detail. And they fought, and I like how Carrie is in the Batmobile trying to distract the military, and then Oliver saves Batman's life because he fires a kryptonite arrow at Clark. And then I swear when the kryptonite gas showed up, what flashed throughout my mind was Batman going, "Breathe it in. That's fear." I love that. That was so good. And then he fights him, and then we get the most badass like Batman monologue. And in fact, I'm gonna ask JJheat to do the monologue again.
I want you to remember, Clark, in all the years to come, in your most private moments, I want you to remember my hand at your throat. I want you to remember the one man who beat you. Jared, you're muted.
Thank you. And by the way, PK was right, but Harley was not created until the 90s because of the cartoon. Remember, the cartoon does not happen without this book happening. The way Dune was depicted Batman. I think there would have been a Batman animated series, but it would have been more like the Super Friends. And that's the one part of this book where I'm like, that doesn't make sense. Superman would not do that.
Imagine the Superhero Registration Act, where everyone has to fully advocate their superhero activities to the government or risk becoming criminals. And because Luthor has impersonated Reagan, he has a no prejudice order. And that version of Clark ranges from a pure Boy Scout to a psychopath, depending on the scene.
Well, plus also because Superman is like, also the government is basically holding Clark's family hostage. So of course he's going to be a little more desperate. So that's one way to, I guess, explain it. So Robert says, I love the end, but being Batman, I worry about all those kids, his army. I'm sure one of them will probably go evil. One of them will go evil and become a gun-toting version of himself and saying, you don't go far enough. One of them will become an acrobat in a blue suit. One of them will go on the adventures with Superman's son, and they'll be called something like the Super Sons or something like that.
And then Talia's going to come in the picture with a secret bastard, and they burn the
No, it's going to turn out one of those guys is Damian, and then Talia will return, and then what?
Please don't mention.
Already did.
Too late.
Well, those kids did kind of turn evil, kind of.
Wait. As soon as you mentioned Damian, Jonathan Kent will be mentioned.
Mm.
But I can understand in execution it was god awful, but I could see why they did it. One, that's a lot of internalization to make a 10-year-old go through, and two, make sure that John's character isn't solely defined by Damian, because outside of their family unit with Clark and Lois, John's a blank slate. He doesn't really have a lot going for him other than the Super Sons. So I could see why they did it. They just went in a pretty poor direction.
So you can arguably say the reason why they stopped with the Super Sun series and all that stuff is because they told all the stories that they could possibly tell with that. It doesn't take. This way, Tabby. It doesn't take away the fact. Like this way, I've seen you own like every trade of that series. It doesn't take it away. It's still your thing. It doesn't take it away. So in Green Arrow comics in the 80s, Oliver had a situation where his hand was stuck in a bomb, and Superman could have saved him by cutting it off with heat vision. Oliver chose death instead. Yeah, I remember that. It's kind of that's some weird stuff back then, because wasn't there also a comic? Okay, so here's this idea. Are you ready? Because we're at the end. I'll go on this tangent. Remember back in like the early 2000s when alien abduction stories were a big thing?
Yeah, I remember that.
They did a comic where Batman's abducted by aliens, and they tried to make it like those alien abduction movies. The one problem is Batman literally works with aliens every single day. It doesn't work. He wouldn't be fazed by aliens.
Now, a Batman Predator crossover, those are the golden standard. That's how you do it.
Where's that animated movie? I want that as an animated. Can you imagine that? Except, stuck in a facility with Dr. Walter. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Of how Joker went into a coma. That's interesting. That would have been actually really cool. Seriously, the Dark Knight sequel should have been a story about Superman being a government lackey or the heroes leaving. That would have been cool. A prequel.
Pandora into fascist.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we don't talk about Strikes Again.
No, it would have been kind of cool if Strikes Again, instead of what happened in Strikes Again, they did a prequel where it shows like the public revolting against the Justice League.
But didn't they? I'm pretty sure this was in Strikes Again. But didn't they? Didn't Superman and Wonder Woman pretty much?
They had
keep it-
sky sex in that. Yeah, exactly. But also, what's funny? The one thing I don't buy, the other members of the Justice League would not stop being superheroes just because the people didn't want them. No. That would not happen.
This isn't the Incredibles. That's something you would see in a Disney movie, like the Incredibles.
Yeah, Wonder Woman would still keep saving people. I mean, it's a little unrealistic. Ooh, you lucky dog, you. And yes, I would want that too because that's fantastic. And oh my gosh, can you imagine Batfleck and Carl Urban teaming up if they do his live action? They wouldn't do it. They do it animated, but can you imagine that as a movie? And yes, I want this animated movie so much, or like Batman Spawn animated as well. Can we please get that? Or better, remember this, JHeat? Superman and Batman versus aliens and predators. No, I want to see an animated version of a chest burster attempt to burst through Superman's chest, but he can't do it. But he's Kryptonian, so it can't get through. So it just dies. That'd be so good. So
wait, I got news from Nick. Drum roll, please. He fell asleep.
Oh, okay. It's all good, Nick.
So he might come on in the next few minutes.
All right.
And see what he has to say.
Nick, if you're watching, you're more than welcome to come on and hang out for a bit.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna dip in a bit any myself because
Okay,
I am.
that's fine.
Okay.
So as soon as he joins, I can hop out.
So, in terms of, let's talk about. So, how would you rate this animated movie out of 10?
A 10.
10 out of 10.
Me too. Absolutely 10 out of 10. Particularly as a comic adaptation, because this thing nailed it. I was genuinely surprised.
Outside of a few nitpicks here and there, but other than that, it was a perfect film.
For the most part, yeah. It perfectly captured the spirit of the comic. It 100% was like you were essentially reading the Dark Knight Returns comic. Like, really, yeah, everyone agrees with us. It is a perfect film. I would argue it's one of the most perfect DC animated movies of all time.
Alongside Batman Under the Red Hood.
Alongside Under the Red Hood and maybe All-Star Superman.
Yeah, that one's pretty solid too. Not gonna lie.
And we will be talking about those like probably later on down the line. It's just we're also going to talk about. I mean, next time we're gonna. Oh, that we already do that every single live stream.
Now, to be fair, one good thing about the Millerverse.
Wonder Bat for life.
The one good thing about the Millerverse, he cucked Green Arrow.
That's true. That's true. The one redeeming part of All-Star Batman and Robin. And by Tevia, next week is Mask of the Phantasm. But yeah, that was so good. It's also just the way he did. Look this way, that book has some redeeming qualities, like Batman painting an entire room yellow to fight Green Lantern. I love where he goes to I love where, when talking about Superman, he goes, he's such a rube. He doesn't even know he can fly, but I do. And I'm like, how do you know he could fly?
Miller
and Batman saying, I'm the goddamn Batman. I want to be able to I want Ben Affleck to say that so I can clip it and play it on my channel so many times.
Goddamn Batman.
I love, again, going back to that Black Canary moment, they have sex while criminals are burning alive in costume in the rain. I'm like, okay, that's kind of kinky.
And you thought Backcess was bad.
Yeah, I gotta say that's horrible. That is just horrible. But yeah, so in terms of next week, we're going to be talking Mask of the Phantasm. Absolutely. And Nick will not be able to join us this week, but that's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, my only I look at Robert online. My only sadness is that the Killing Joke sucked. The second half was good. The first half sucked.
I don't even know why it was padding, because I can understand if you don't want to make what's that term that was populated by Kyle Rayner's girlfriend? What's that term?
The girl in the fridge. Here's the thing: you didn't even have to have Batman and Batgirl like have sex, because that in no way is part of the story.
No, it's not even relevant. No, she just had. If anything, Joker goes after her because she's the commissioner's daughter. That had no. It was just a means. It was just a subplot to get Barbara something to do.
I will say, All Star had one of the funniest Super Wonder moments when Wonder Woman shows up in the meeting of the Justice League, and she goes, "You make me sick. You all suck." And then Superman and her just make out all of a sudden. I'm like, well, that's kind of odd. And yes, I'm just gonna say yes to this. Yes, 100% yes.
Call out Damian and Nightstar, and you have a solid movie in of itself.
Mm-hmm. They could even do a live action version of this, though. It is possible they could do that. Jason Todd could have been the Killing Joke movie because Death in the Family happens after it. True. I guess Jason Todd Robin. I got a little confused when he said Jason Todd because I'm like, wait.
Yeah, technically Barbara gets.
Yes, I liked Red Sun a lot. Red Sun was actually pretty solid.
I give it an 8.
An 8. It's not as good as Dark Knight Returns, obviously. And but in that book, Superman and Wonder Woman. Oh, well, let me put it this way: Wonder Woman likes Superman, but in this one, she's a lesbian. Which I'm like, that's fine, but I'm like,
I mean, she comes from the Amazons, a tribe of women, so that's kind of be expected.
But in the original book, that's one of the only things you change
out of everything, just to make it more clearly defined that Diana wouldn't want to pursue a relationship with Clark. That's one of the few things you change. Kind of a pesky change.
Yeah, exactly. That was the only one where I was like, it seems a little petty at that point.
Well, to be fair, this was during the Trump era. The creators were just losing their bloody minds.
Yeah, exactly. So Return of the Joker I liked. I haven't watched that one yet.
You haven't watched Return of the Joker?
I watched this. I love this.
Oh, just about anyone seeing Gotham by Gaslight. You stumble on that just on YouTube. You've never seen Batman Return of the Joker?
Get him out.
No, you can't leave. You can't kick me from my own stream.
Boo!
I'll tell you what. We'll watch that on the show. And by the way, Justice League Doom was pretty awesome.
Fun fact: in Tower of Babel, the villain was Ra's al Ghul, not Vandal Savage.
Yeah, and by the way, they made Russian Batman a terrorist. He was fighting an authoritarian regime,
which is ironic.
And yes, I do think eventually he'll show up. And what's up with Raimi Batfleck? I do think he'll show up.
He redeemed himself in Snyder Cut, but Jared Leto was not a good Joker. There have been
we know, Tavia, your favorite DC animated movie is Super Sons, which, in his defense, it was pretty good. I'll give him that. In his defense,
the art style was a little jarring, but other than that,
yeah, Lawrence is with me on this.
I would not have admitted that on a public stream, but okay.
But,
okay.
And once again, our next movie is going to be Mask of the Phantasm. And then, honestly, we could even talk about, if you guys want real quick, what movie do you guys want to do next? Or if you guys want to do like an animated Marvel movie.
We could
No Marvel movie.
No, let's stay on brand. Mm-hmm. But we could do like a DeCamu marathon, compare Flashpoint, Justice League War, because you were a fan of the New 52 material. So we could do like a DeCamu.
Honestly, I was actually considering doing that. You know what we should do? Okay, here's the plan. After we do Mask of the Phantasm, so I can finally get you guys off my ass, we're going to watch every single DeCamu movie.
So a DeCamu week, or are we just going to spend 15 weeks?
No. What I mean is we're going to... Every week, we're going to go through a DeCamu movie starting with Flashpoint, because that's pretty much a DeCamu movie. That's the way we'll do it.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yes, because and we're definitely going to come in Apocalypse War, because that movie was freaking dope. Yeah, not as good as a few of them, but I think it's pretty dope. And by the way, I have a new clip for Snyder Queen whenever she comes in. It's that moment from Throne of Atlantis where Superman and Wonder Woman kiss and twirl into the air just to mess with her.
Go on.
How long have you had that one?
I don't have it yet. I'm going to make it. And by the way, Christ on Two Earths. Okay, that was actually really cool. I like that one.
Technically, that one was supposed to be in the DCAU, but as they shut it down, it became one of the first films of the original movies brand.
I will say my favorite part of that movie is when Black Canary leans in, want to hear a secret? And then she just blasts him with the ear. I love that. And watch it, Aquaman. They're stronger than you. That remains to be seen.
My
Yeah.
favorite moment in Crisis on Two Earths is when Batman blatantly lies to Wally about being fast enough to break the interdimensional barrier.
Yeah. And by the way, Batman Superman Apocalypse, that was also another one that actually stuck to the source material really well.
Yeah. I mean, that one was pretty straightforward, though. You couldn't really deviate too much from that.
And of course, we have Kevin Conroy facing down Darkseid, as we said in our Kevin Conroy memorial stream.
Yep.
And also, speaking of DCAU, how about Justice League versus Fatal 5? That was pretty cool.
The Cadmus arc was the best of that entire franchise.
I'll agree with you on that one. That was great. We could
Cadmus.
probably just do a stream, just talk about the Cadmus arc. We don't even have to watch the whole thing. Oh yeah, Apocalypse War made me angry because you could have had this in live action if Warner Brothers had not screwed up in 2017 with the Just. Yeah, exactly. You know what's kind of funny? That movie comes out. Wait. Here's the funny part about Apocalypse War. That movie comes out like a month or two before the Snyder Cut's announced. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah,
Definitely not a coincidence. I think not.
I'm saying.
I had to.
Yeah. I'm telling you, they should at least bring the Snyderverse back as an animated movie and then just do that.
But would they? Would they take that risk?
Because everyone loves DC animated stuff. And then, yes, exactly. I love that. It has one of the best. My favorite animated Superman Superman Darkseid fight is at the end of Justice League Unlimited, where he goes to Darkseid. I feel like I'm in a world made of cardboard, but you can take it, so I can cut loose. And he punches Darkseid through buildings. So immediately, I'm like, where was the backlash that Superman got in Man of Steel? If you people can't see the potential danger of an out of control Justice League, I don't deserve to be here like a boss. And then he goes, and then Superman goes, "You're really telling what? Go ahead."
If you people can't see the potential danger of an out of control Justice League, then I don't belong here.
I love the follow up to that where Superman goes, "You really mean to tell me that you don't have a contingency plan if you ever lose control?" And then Batman goes, "Yeah, I do. You guys. It's you guys."
I do have a contingency plan. It's called the Justice League.
I love that. Gods and Monsters was also pretty dope as an Elseworld story, like Kirk Langstrom being Batman.
Yeah, Wonder Woman, you might as well just make Big Barda Wonder Woman, but other than that.
Oh, she wasn't Big Barda.
Think about it. You essentially have a peace treaty for marriage.
Yeah, I know what you're going for. It is very similar, but the way that they did Darkseid in that movie was badass. Yes, I love that. But my favorite Superman Batman movie fight in animated was an Apocalypse War when Superman gets his powers back and beats the crap out of Darkseid.
It's just Hulk versus Loki.
Yeah, I swear, I thought after he swung him around, I thought Superman was going to go, puny god. I just love Superman is like gouging Darkseid's eyes out. But the Paradooms part was kind of lazy, I'll give you that. It was like, okay. I get what you're doing. I also liked Jon Stewart dying because it was like, you think he's going to charge up and be a boss and then fire.
I would have given him his moment because Jon Stewart in the camera was barely given anything. At least let him get one moment.
And it's already canon, dude. It's already canon. If you go by the marketing, it's still canon.
They're not going to openly admit it, but they're definitely going to use it as a base.
And then heck, just as got as much as Highfather killed Darkseid because you notice everything was flipped kind of because the Highfather people seem to be the evil people.
Yeah,
mutually
assured destruction, definitely.
Yeah, of course, it sings for Wonder Woman. But remember, we're talking about animated movies. I liked how Lex was trying to bring Brainiac instead of Darkseid. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and then Apocalypse War is better than Endgame. I agree with you on that one.
Hot take.
No, it's not a hot take.
A lot of casuals would disagree with you on that
because a lot of casuals are MCU shills. That's why. Superman and Supergirl fighting Darkseid was dope. Yes, it was. It was really good. So on that note, I think it's a good place to leave it for today. Again, all in all, a fantastic animated movie. It's definitely up there in my top 5 in terms of animated movies. In terms of just Batman movies in general, it's up there as one of my favorites. So I'm going to go around and actually first, the one thing I'm going to say is I'm just going to go around. What is your favorite part of the movie or book? And I'll start with Teladia.
Well, it's straightforward and simple. Superman and Batman's confrontation.
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
Straightforward. and simple.
I agree with that too.
My favorite would be the funeral, or well, the fake funeral.
When Catwoman is like hitting on Superman, you killed him! You killed him! And I'm like, and I love Superman. He hears Bruce Wayne's heartbeat and just smiles at Carrie, who's obviously Carrie Kelly, and he just walks away because he knows he's not dead. So
Okay, on that note,
I am too. It's his fault. Yeah. So on that note, yeah, we're gonna call it. Hope you guys enjoyed this stream. Remember, next week we're watching. Yeah, the Mutant Surgery was dope.
The Sons of Batman.
Remember, next week we're watching Batman Mask of the Phantasm and talking about it. It'll be fun. It's my first time watching Mask of the Phantasm. Yes, and I can finally get these two off my ass.
I am vengeance. I am the night. I am Batman.
So on that note, Excelsior. Let me get to the conclusion. And Excelsior.